Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we start chapter number 8 from the textbook, which is related to the protection of power transformers. In our previous lecture we have concluded protection of rotating machinery. Contents of our today's lecture are: at the start, first there will be an introduction to transformer protection. Then there will be classification of faults in transformer. Then we discuss the requirements of transformer protection. So here, out of these transformer protection, we will discuss overcurrent protection of transformer with the help of fuses and overcurrent relays, and then we discuss the differential protection of transformers. So these topics will be discussed today. Expected outcomes: at the end of the lecture, student will learn about the attributes of transformer protection. Student will be able to learn about the abnormal operating condition of transformers that need protection. Student will be able to learn about the overcurrent protection of transformer by using fuses as well as overcurrent relays. So here we discuss the time delay overcurrent relay and instantaneous overcurrent relay. Then we discuss differential protection of transformers with the help of percentage differential relay, and student will be able to learn about why we cannot use overcurrent differential for power transformer, and then why we need to use different percentage differential relay. Let's start discussion of transformer protection from the introduction. As we know that it was not possible to realize modern power system without these transformers. That's why transformers are everywhere in all parts of our system, at all voltage level, in all sizes. Small transformers rated from 3 to 200 kVA can be observed around our residences, offices, in our shopping plazas and other commercial buildings. So these are the distribution transformers. So large size power transformers are installed in substation and power plants. Here is what we want from the transformer protection. Transformer protection should be highly sensitive so that it could detect all the faults within the transformer, or those faults which could affect the transformer. At the same time, transformer protection must be immune to the faults which are outside the transformer. So these are the two requirements. It should be highly dependable. So all the faults within the transformer or those faults which could directly affect the transformer should be detected. And secondly, it should be secure as well. Means all the fault outside the transformer must not be detected by these relays. Now here we will discuss transformer fault categorization, and we can categorize transformer fault into different 5 categories, and we had a 6th category as well, which is the fault which will indirectly affect the transformer. First type of fault is winding and terminal faults. Winding is within the transformer tank and terminals are the bushing of the transformer outside the transformer tank and partially inside as well. So those are the terminal, and around the core we have winding. Then core faults. Then third category is tank and transformer accessories faults. Fourth category is on load tap changer fault. So large power transformers are also equipped with on load tap changer. Then fifth category of fault, that is abnormal operating condition, externally applied condition on the transformer that could be dangerous for the transformer. And these are the 5 different categories of faults. Then there is a sixth as well, that could affect the transformer indirectly, that is sustained or uncleared external fault. There was nothing wrong with the transformer, But if fault current is passing through the transformer and fault is outside the transformer, maybe in bus or in transmission line, and if the respective protection has failed to clear the fault, that could be dangerous for transformer as well, because fault current is passing through the transformer up to the fault point. So that's why if fault is not cleared by the primary protection of that corresponding power system component, then we must have some protection over here to protect the transformer against that fault. That is known as through faults. Fault which is passing through the transformer but does not occur on the transformer. So that is something that must be addressed as well. So this sixth category is indirectly affecting the transformer. So only there are five major categories of fault which would affect the transformer directly. Now we will discuss all these categories one by one. Before that, all those transformer faults which originates from the transformer, if we have an idea of their statistical occurrence, so here is that pie chart that will describe that the majority of faults in transformer is winding and terminal fault, which is this orange color portion, and then the frequency of occurrence of core, tank and on load tap changer. OLTC stand for on load tap changer. All these faults have almost equal probability of occurrence. So most frequent fault is winding and terminal faults. So these four faults originates from the transformer. Fifth category is externally applied condition, and sixth category is some uncleared fault outside the transformer. Now here we discuss all these faults one by one, just their nature, how these faults can occur. Their protection will be discussed in later slides. Starting from winding faults in power transformer. So internal short circuit faults in winding of the transformer are of following types. Phase to ground faults. Next type of winding fault is a phase to phase fault, means short circuit between two different phases within the transformer. That is a rare case. And then we have another type of short circuit that could occur inside the transformer, which is turn to turn fault. That is less common. When we say phase to ground fault, that is actually a short circuit between winding and the tank of the transformer, winding and the core of the transformer, or flashover over the bushing of the transformer, terminal to the tank of the transformer. So all these are the phase to ground fault. Turn to turn fault on the other hand is actually short circuit between turns of same phase. So that is a turn to turn fault known as a minor fault within transformer. If it is not detected in time, that get converted into a major fault. So these are the winding fault within the transformer. Next we discuss the core faults, faults that belongs to the core of the power transformer. In order to understand what type of faults may occur in the core, it is important to understand the construction of the transformer core. So transformer core is made by stacking of the thin laminated sheet of silicon steel. Silicon steel is a soft magnetic material which could be easily magnetized and demagnetized. So why we use these sheets of silicon steel to make the core of the power transformer? It is done to reduce the eddy current losses in transformer core. People already have this idea what is meant by the eddy current and how do we reduce it. Just give you a revision. Here I have included few diagrams to explain this concept. Here how the laminated sheets are used to make the core of the transformer. So these laminated sheets are electrically isolated from each other. This is how eddy current losses will be removed. Here we can see in this core where we are use a single solid material to develop the core. This is a path for the flow of induced current inside the core due to the flux. So that current will result in I square or losses. So if we split that single thick core into small laminated sheets, that is the stacked sheets to make the core of the transformer. Now what we have done, we have increased the resistance of the path of eddy current, so that will reduce the eddy current and that will reduce the eddy current losses as well. So that's why we use the laminated sheets of silicon steel to build the core of the transformer. This is how this core look like, a close view. Here we can see thin sheets are stacked together to make a core. Now let's see what type of problem may occur. So a conducting bridge across this laminated structure of the core can permit sufficient eddy current to flow to cause serious overheating. If due to any reason, either due to the damage to the lamination or insulation between those sheets, or due to the breakdown of insulation of nut bolt that are used to clamp these sheets with each other, that nut bolt is actually isolated from the lamination, but if due to some reason that isolation get damaged, so that nut bolt can develop a bridge, or you can say conducting path among these laminations. So there could be a path for the flow of eddy currents, and that may result higher I square or losses within the core due to eddy current. The bolts that clamp the core together are always insulated to avoid this trouble. If any portion of core insulation becomes defective, the resultant heating may damage the winding, because the core temperature will increase, transformer internal temperature will increase, that will damage the insulation of winding. Once winding insulation get damaged, that may result in a short circuit within the winding. So core fault will result in a winding fault. So that's why winding fault is very frequent, because other faults may also result in the winding faults. I hope now you have idea what is mean by the core faults. Next is tank faults and the transformer accessories faults. So loss of oil through the tank leaks will ultimately produce a dangerous condition, because the oil within the transformer tank serve two purposes. First purpose of that oil is to provide insulation, and second purpose is to provide cooling, conduction of heat from the winding into the surrounding. So if oil will spill out of the transformer tank through a leak, so that may result in reduction of insulation within the transformer. So that may result in a short circuit within the transformer winding. And further, overheating may also occur due to overloading condition and blocked cooling ducts. So the cooling ducts in the transformer tanks are used to cool down the transformer oil inside the transformer. Here you can see those tubes which are connected to the tank of the transformer. When due to overloading, or you can say the rated load of the transformer, when heat is produced within the transformer, that oil will get heat up and rise upward, heated oil, and then it will flow into this tube from the top, move downward, and through its way from top to bottom, it will radiate heat into the surrounding, and that reduced temperature oil will enter back into the transformer tank. So this natural circulation of oil will result in conduction of heat from the winding into the surrounding of the transformer. So this is known as natural oil circulation. So if due to any reason this circulation get interrupted, or you can say restricted, then the conduction of heat from the transformer winding into the surrounding will get affected, and ultimately the temperature of transformer will rise and damage the transformer winding insulation and result in a short circuit within the transformer winding. So there are many reasons due to which this circulation may get affected. So due to sludging of oil, sludging means the oil will become viscous and would not be able to properly circulate within the transformer tubes. So that sludging occurs due to the aging factor. And here we can see another cooling mechanism, where between these tubes and the transformer tank, here an oil pump has been installed, and sometimes fans are installed over here or at the bottom of these tubes. So here the pump and those fans are used to forcefully circulate oil as well as air through the tubes. So that is known as forced oil and forced air circulation. So if the produced heat in large size power transformer is high, then we use this mechanism to radiate heat from the winding into the surrounding. Faults in the force oil and force air circulation mechanism. These faults will result in increase in temperature of transformer. These are known as tank faults. Now the fourth category is externally applied condition. Sources of abnormal stresses in transformer are which are externally applied: overload condition, system faults, over voltage condition, and reduced system frequency. So these are the four conditions externally applied to the transformer. Now we start discussion of these conditions one by one, starting from overload condition. So how this overload will affect the transformer? Overload will result in higher amount of current to pass through the transformer windings, that will cause increase in I square R losses, copper losses inside the transformer winding, and result in rise in temperature. So remember, these power transformers and distribution transformers are designed to carry this overload for a limited period. For example, a distribution transformer which has naturally cooled mechanism, that could be overloaded up to 2.5 to 5 hours. So up to 20% overload can be applied for such a long duration without any problem, because the cooling mechanism will be sufficient to radiate heat from the winding into the surrounding. Remember, short time constants apply in case of forced cooled transformer. Large power transformers, their overload duration, although we are using forced oil and air circulation cooling mechanism, but they cannot be overloaded for such a long duration as we have naturally cooled transformer. Reason, those power transformers produce too much losses, heat losses in volume. So due to that reason, if not properly conducted into the environment, then the temperature of those transformers will rise to a dangerous value. Next is system faults. That is again externally applied condition on the transformer, that is dangerous for the transformer. Due to external faults, what happens? Again, the I square or losses within the winding of the transformer will increase. So here this time increase in I square or losses are much higher as compared to overload condition. Reason, because current is much higher as compared to the overload condition, and I square or losses are proportional to the square of the current. So remember, the transformer design includes a transformer should be capable to withstand an external fault current for 2 seconds, and 2 seconds is sufficient time for any primary protection or backup protection to operate and clear the fault. But if fault is not cleared even after 2 seconds, then the transformer protection should come into action and remove the transformer from the system. Otherwise, transformer may get damaged. Now we have another externally applied condition, which is over voltages. This condition, over voltage and reduced frequency, that we discuss next, has the same impact. Our voltage can be of two types. First is transient surge voltages, and second is power frequency over voltages. This transient over voltage and power frequency over voltage we have discussed in relation to the rotating machinery as well for generators. So same thing here. The transient over voltages arises from the switching as well as from the lightning. So these two phenomena will produce very high but very short duration voltages, and that voltage is dangerous for the insulation of transformer. So to provide protection against this situation, lightning arresters are used on both sides, ST side and LT side of power transformer, because surge can come from either side of the power transformer. Such type of protection is not provided to the distribution transformer on both sides. In case of distribution transformer, this protection is only limited for high voltage side, and with the help of arcing horn, arcing rod across the bushing of the transformer, transformers are protected against the lightning transients. So power frequency over voltage causes both an increase in stress on the insulation and an increase in working flux over excitation. Flux will increase, so due to that increase in flux, transformer core may get saturated. So this is a problem of over voltages. Next we discuss reduced system frequency. Reduction of system frequency has an effect with regard to flux density similar to that of our voltages. Remember, when installed in power system, this reduced frequency fault cannot occur in power system. So this type of fault is only associated to those power transformers which are directly connected to the generators. When we are synchronizing generator with the bus bar, before that synchronization, when generator is running at a speed less than the synchronous speed, because transformer is directly connected to generator without any circuit breaker. So it means that transformer is experiencing an reduced voltage at reduced frequency. So this type of reduced frequency fault may occur to only those transformers which are directly connected to the power generators. And these transformers are known as GSU, generator step up transformer. So that fault can occur over there. So when it is connected to the generator and generator has an induced voltage at reduced frequency, this problem of overexcitation may occur over there. Again, due to this overexcitation, saturation of core will occur. This flux get induced in the surrounding of the core, may result in heating of the nut bolt system that is used to clamp the core, as well as the casing of the transformer, tank of the transformer. So that's why protection is required against this over voltage or reduced frequency condition. We will discuss later that again this type of protection is provided based upon both parameters, voltage and frequency, and protection is provided based upon the ratio of voltage to frequency. So it means transformer operation can be done at some higher voltage and higher frequency. Similarly, if frequency is less, transformer applied voltage should also be less accordingly, so that the ratio of per unit voltage to per unit frequency is not more than 1.05 per unit. So it follows that transformer can be operated with some degree of over voltage with corresponding increase in frequency. So if voltage are above the rated, frequency should also be above the rated value. So now here is another question that I want to address. A power transformer which is rated at 60 hertz frequency and some voltage. If we want to operate that transformer at 50 hertz, then remember its operation should also be done at slightly voltage less than its rating. How much less? So that the ratio of voltage to frequency remains same. So similarly, if we want to operate a transformer which is rated at 50 hertz at 60 hertz, there is nothing wrong. We can operate it at the rated voltage as well as slightly above the rated voltage. But a transformer rated at 60 hertz should be operated at less voltage when operating at 50 hertz. So, but operation must not be continued with high voltage input at a low frequency, because that will result in severe overexcitation and saturation of transformer core. Now here we will summarize the protection of transformer. So the problems related to transformer described in previous slides require some mean of protection. And the type of protection used for a transformer depends upon following factors. The transformer size. Bigger the transformer size, it will become more and more expensive and more sophisticated protection is required. Location and function, whether it is a distribution transformer, less expensive, less important, or it is a power system power transformer which is a bigger size transformer and is expensive and critical for the operation of power system. So depending upon the location, its protection will also change. Similarly, the voltage rating, higher the voltage rating, more expensive will be the transformer, more critical it is for the operation of power system, so more sophisticated protection is applied. Then the connection and design of the tank, so connection of the winding, whether its purpose is for voltage step up or step down, or it is used for power regulation. So Depending upon the connection and design, its protection may also vary. For example, whether it is auto transformer, two winding transformer, three winding transformer, or it is a special winding transformer, depending upon the winding connections, its protection will vary. So following table summarizes the problem and the possible form of protection that may be used to provide protection. So here on the left side we have the type of fault, and on the right side, on the right column, we have the list of protection used for against those faults. For example, a primary winding phase fault, that is differential relay and overcurrent relay, is used. Primary winding phase to earth fault, differential and overcurrent. Secondary winding phase to phase fault, differential and overcurrent. Secondary winding phase to earth fault, again differential and restricted earth fault. This is same as the earth fault relay, but its setting will be a bit more sensitive as compared to simple overcurrent. Then interturn fault, so differential relay and Buchholz relay. Working of this Buchholz relay will be discussed in later slide. Core faults, so that will be detected with the help of differential relay and Buchholz relay. Tank faults, that is detected with the help of differential relay, Buchholz relay, tank earth relay. Sometimes to detect whether tank is properly connected to earth or not, that is also monitored with the help of tank earth relay. Overfluxing mean either increase in voltage or reduction in frequency, that would be detected with the help of overfluxing relay known as volts per hertz protection or V over F protection. And then finally overheating. So we have a mechanism to detect overheating with the help of a temperature sensor and corresponding temperature relay to detect the temperature of the transformer against overload condition. Now we will discuss these schemes in bit more detail. Here is the first type of protection that we apply to the transformer, that is overcurrent protection of transformer. So now what are the reasons of overcurrent to the transformer? Obviously first one is overload condition, excessive overload condition. Second thing is a winding fault within the transformer. Third possibility, we have external short circuit fault, mean fault outside the transformer, maybe on the bus bar or on the transmission line that is being fed through the transformer. If that fault is not cleared, that is known as sustained short circuit fault. So that could also result in overcurrent in transformer and required protection. So these are the conditions that may result in overcurrent in transformers. So overcurrent protection for the transformer can be provided by fuses which has been installed on high voltage side, or this type of protection can be provided with the help of time relay overcurrent relays, or we may use instantaneous overcurrent relays. So these are the three devices or three relays which we can use for the protection of transformer against overcurrent condition. Now the high side fuses. These type of devices are used for low power rating transformer, normally used in distribution system known as distribution transformers. And these fuses are used to provide protection against only the fault conditions. Now the time delay overcurrent relays are used to provide protection against overload condition as well as against a sustained fault current. Okay, that is known as a through fault. Through fault means fault is passing through the transformer but that is outside the transformer. So to provide protection against overload condition and through fault, we use time delay overcurrent relays for those transformer which has been installed in substations. Then instantaneous overcurrent relay. So for power transformer of higher rating than the distribution transformer, if fuse protection is not possible, then alternative fuse protection is instantaneous overcurrent relay. That would also provide very quick protection against the short circuit fault condition, because time delay overcurrent relay would take some time to trip, but instantaneous overcurrent relay will immediately detect the fault and clear it to avoid damage to the transformer. As the size of transformer and its importance, will further increase due to increase in its power, then instead of using instantaneous overcurrent relay for short circuit fault, we use differential relays that we discuss after this. Now we discuss fuses for the transformer protection. So fuses are used to protect the distribution transformer rated up to 2.5 MVA. So transformer up to this rating are known as distribution transformers. Fuse protection is used on the high voltage side of the transformer because it is easy to use fuse over there, because due to high voltage current is less and design of fuse is easier as compared to the low voltage side. The continuous rating of fuse must exceed the maximum transformer load. So it means the fuse should not get interrupted or blown off due to the normal loading current of the transformer. This is the first requirement of the fuse. Second, the interrupting capability. The maximum current that a fuse can interrupt. Interrupting capability of fuse should be greater than the maximum possible fault current for which this fuse have to operate. So these are the two conditions for the selection of fuse. Here repeating it again, fuse continuous rated current should be greater than the maximum possible load current of the transformer. Second, the interrupting capability of the fuse should be greater than the maximum possible fault current. Further, when we energize a transformer draw very high current known as inrush current. These fuses should be capable to withstand that inrush current without blowing as well. So in chapter number 4 we have discussed 3 loading rating of the fuses: continuous load, hot load pickup and cold load pickup. So these pickup values of fuse was describing this high current at the time of energization of the power system, immediately after tripping and after a delay of 30 minutes. So fuses must withstand the magnetization inrush current drawn when power transformer are energized. So here with the help of a graph, I will show you how the fuse rating is selected and operating characteristics are selected. For example, for this transformer, we are using fuse on primary high side and low side, fuse A and B. So both side has fuse protection. Then how do we achieve coordination among these fuse as well? We will see here. This is the first part, that is transformer capability curve. As we have seen the motor capability curve in our previous lectures, this is a graph between the current and the time. So it means our protection device must respond before this transformer capability curve approaches. The operation time of protection devices must be earlier than that transformer capability curve time. So this curve describes corresponding to a value of current for how long this transformer can withstand that current without getting damaged. Once that time has reached, transformer will get permanently damaged. We can see there are two sections of this transformer capability curve. This first portion, that is for overload condition, and here this is the response of transformer against the fault condition. You can see in case of fault there is abrupt decrease in withstand time. So a capability curve has sharper characteristics over there. So remember, fuses are used to provide protection against only short circuit condition. So it means the characteristics of fuse that we are going to discuss here would not be used to provide protection during the first section of this transformer capability curve, that is due to overload condition. Now here is minimum melt time of the transformer fuses. So you can see here, for a fault condition, fuse will blow out, its filament will get blown off much before the capability curve of the transformer. So it is adequate protection against the fault. So then here is slightly bigger time known as total clearance time. When fault occurs, The first curve represents the time taken by the fusible element to melt down, and second curve shows the time in which fault will be cleared. So fault must be cleared before the transformer capability curve approaches. So this is the minimum melt curve and total fault clearance time. So time between these two curve is known as arcing time, in which fault current will exist in the form of arc. Here we can see for very large fault currents, fuse protection is providing very good protection, much faster protection. That is clear from this gap. We have a much bigger gap over here that describes that fault is cleared much earlier than the capability curve of the transformer. These two curves have been developed in the laboratory. When fuse is used in the system, its minimum melt and total clearance time will be slightly lesser than its actual value. So this is shown with the help of this dotted line. Reason, because in laboratory the filament of the fuse will be at room temperature, laboratory temperature, when these tests are performed. But in case of a fuse installed in the field for the protection of transformer, it is already carrying a load current and its filament will be at slightly higher temperature. So it will take less time to operate. So this is important for coordination, because here for fuse at B, this is fuse A, here we have two curve for the fuse B. When fault occurs on low voltage side, high side should not operate. So that's why we can see here a gap between high side and low side fuse operating characteristics. So for a low side fault, that is fault on side B of the transformer, high side fuse, that is fuse A, would not respond to that fault. So that is coordination. Because fuse is instantaneous device, so coordination between fuses will be similar as we have coordination among instantaneous overcurrent relay. So instantaneous overcurrent relay, which will be upstream, its setting should be done in such a way that it must not operate for any fault for next line section. So its pickup setting will be even greater than the maximum possible fault of next line section. Same is the case over here when we are achieving coordination between fuse on high side. Here this is high side and fuse on low side. So if fault occurs on a low voltage side, high side fuse must not respond to that fault. So this is known as coordination between them. And the selection of the characteristics of high side and low side fuses will be in such a way that both should operate much before reaching this transformer capability curve. So now here HRC fuses, high rupturing capacity fuses, or current limiting fuses, although very fast in operation with large fault currents, are extremely slow with current of less than 3 times of their rated value. So here another feature of those fuses, why we cannot use fuses for the protection against overload condition. This is the reason, because those fuses has very large operating time to operate against the fault that is just above their rating. For example, typical rating of fuses used for 11 kilovolt transformer are given below. So here in this table we can see here for 100 kVA transformer over here, the full load current when calculated by using this voltage of 11 kilovolt, that is 5.25 ampere. So we had used this formula to calculate this current. I load is equal to 100 kVA divided by under root 3 into 11. So that is the formula to calculate this current. So kilo of power here in the numerator and kilo of this volt in the denominator will cancel out with each other, and this will result in current in ampere. So the fuse that we use for 11 kilovolt 100 kVA transformer has a rated current of 16 ampere. So we can see here its rated current is much higher, almost 3 times greater than the full load current of the transformer. Why it is so? The one obvious reason is because the fuse used for the transformer should not operate due to the inrush current of the transformer. And remember, inrush current of the transformer can be as high as 8 times greater than the rated current, 8 to 10 times. So due to this reason, the rated current capability of the fuse is set slightly higher as compared to the full load current of the transformer. Next, even for a current which is 3 times of this 16, mean 48 ampere, this fuse will take about 3 seconds to operate. So 3 times of rated value of this fuse, which is already 3 times greater than the rated current, means when this transformer is carrying about 900 kVA, 9 times greater than its rated value, then this fuse will take 3 seconds to operate. Much before this operation of fuse, the transformer will get permanently damaged. So this happens because fuse is not for overload protection. Distribution transformer does not have any overload protection installed. So whenever overload condition or severe overload condition occurs, transformers are capable to withstand that overload condition from 2 to 5 hours. But if that overload is continuous more than that time, that may result in permanent damage to the transformer winding. So fuse is not over there to provide protection against overload condition. So what is the purpose of fuse? Fuse is there to provide protection against short circuit condition. Whenever fault occurs, this fuse will operate in much shorter time. Even it could provide protection within the half cycle of the current. We have seen that thing in discussion of current limiting fuse, how the current limiting fuse will limit the fault current to the lead through current. Same is the case for 200 MVA transformer. Their operation is much slower for even current greater than 3 times of its rated value, but at the same time it has very high operating, very quick operation against the high fault currents. I hope now you have an idea why we are using high rated current of fuses for transformer, just to make sure that these fuses are not blown away by the inrush current of the transformers. That's why its rated current is greater than even the full load current. Now this was the protection of the transformer mounted on the poles, known as pole mounted distribution transformers, and these transformers are protected with the help of fuses. And we have seen that the purpose of those fuses is just to detect a short circuit fault in the transformer HT side, but those fuses could not provide a protection against overload condition. Now here comes the time delay over current relay application for the transformer. Remember, transformers installed in substation, they have this time delay over current relay protection. Over current relay is used to provide protection against excessive overload condition, persisting external faults. So these are the two reasons against which we need overload protection. So now the criteria for the setting of time delay over current relay is the pickup setting is usually 115% of maximum overload acceptable. If a transformer can be overloaded for short duration, maybe up to 20% or 30%, so that should be included in the calculation of maximum possible overload current for the setting of the relay. Then relay will be set after adding a margin of 15% above that maximum possible overload current, and proper time delay is introduced. Now here, up to this point, we have discussed application of overcurrent relay for transmission line, for rotating machinery, and for transformer. We have seen that for transmission line, pickup setting of overcurrent relay will be greater than 2 times of maximum possible load current and less than 1/3 of minimum possible fault current. In case of motor, our current relay is set to 125% of maximum possible load current. In case of transformer, it is set to 115% of maximum possible load current. So same our current relay, as its application changes from transmission line to the motor to the transformers, their pickup setting criteria will also change. What about overcurrent relay for generators? If overcurrent relay is used for the generator, its pickup could be even less than the rated current of the generator. but it must be supervised with the help of an under voltage relay. We have discussed this thing in generator protection. Next is instantaneous overcurrent relay. Instantaneous overcurrent relay is the replacement of fuse protection, because if the size of transformer will become bigger than 2.5 MVA, then fuse protection is not recommended or not, you can say, reliably possible. Then we have instantaneous overcurrent relay as a substitute. So instantaneous overcurrent relay will also operate instantaneously. So its pickup setting should be greater than the maximum possible current drawn by the transformer. That includes its inrush current as well. So instantaneous overcurrent relay must be set above the inrush current, that is 2 times of inrush current. So instantaneous relays are used to protect transformer against short circuit faults, that is substitute of fuses in case of large power rating transformers. So that relay must not operate for inrush current and low voltage side faults, as the fuses are used to select. So due to this reason, its pickup must be greater than the inrush current as well. Okay. Now if the size of transformer will become further bigger as compared to the distribution transformer, maybe 10 MVA transformer, 30 MVA, 40, 50 MVA, these are the large size transformers which are normally used to step down the secondary transmission voltage to the distribution voltage. So these transformers are installed in distribution substations. So in those transformers, instead of using fuses or instantaneous overcurrent relays, we use even more sensitive as well as secure protection known as differential relay. Here next we discuss the differential relay. Although the title of this article is percentage differential, but here we establish this concept why we cannot use overcurrent differential for transformer, and then we discuss how do we apply percentage differential with the help of an example. Here is a single phase transformer, just for the purpose of elaboration. How do we apply differential protection to that transformer? In this transformer, this N1 and N2 are the winding 1 number of turns and winding 2 number of turns. 1 and 2 are for winding number 1 and 2. And here this CT has CT ratio N1 and this CT has CT ratio N2. So small n is for CT ratio and its subscript 1 and 2 describes whether it is on winding 1 side or on winding 2 side. Then for these currents, we are using double subscript. The first subscript 1 and 2 describes whether this current is on the winding 1 or winding 2 side of the main transformer, and second subscript, that is P or S, that describes whether it is on the primary side or the secondary side of the CT. For example, this current I1P, that means this is the current on the winding 1 side and on the primary side of this CT. Here, this one. Similarly, this current I2S, it means this is the current on the winding 2 of the main transformer and on the secondary side of the CT. So these two are, this one I1P and I2P are the transformer currents, and here these two currents I1S and I2S are the CT secondary currents on two sides of the main power transformer. So we know that for transformer action, the ampere turns on winding 1 side will be equal to ampere turn on the winding 2 side. So that is N1 into I1P is equal to N2 into I2P. Now we know that this I1P is equal to the CT ratio multiplied by the CT secondary current. Similarly, I2P is equal to this CT ratio when multiplied with the secondary current is equal to this current, primary current I2P. If we substitute the value of I1P and I2P in terms of their values in terms of CT secondary currents, so above equation will take this shape, that is the number of turns of main transformer into CT ratio over there multiplied by the CT secondary current, that is equal to the number of turns on the winding 2 side, the CT ratio over there, and the CT secondary current. Now in order to properly apply the differential relay during the normal operating condition, we want this current I1S, this one, and I2S, this one, to be exactly equal with each other. Only then we have this difference current which is flowing towards the differential branch equal to 0 during normal condition. So it means we will have to equalize these two CT secondary currents. So this is the requirement for the application of differential relay. During normal condition, when no fault is there, two side currents I1S and I2S should be equal to each other. In order to keep these two currents equal, we will have to satisfy this condition. Then the number of turns of winding 1 multiplied by the CT ratio over there must be equal to the number of turns in the winding 2 multiplied by CT ratio over there. So as we can see, N1 and N2 are different from each other. Same is the case with CT ratio over winding 1 side and CT ratio over winding 2 side. So these two CT ratios will also be different. Obviously in transformer, two side voltage level is different, two side current will be different, two side CT ratios will be different to equalize the secondary currents. So in order to satisfy this condition that I1S is equal to I2S, we will have to satisfy this condition. N1 into CT ratio on winding 1 side must be equal to number of turn of secondary winding into CT ratio over there. So once it has been satisfied, ID, difference current, will be equal to 0. Now here we discuss several practical issues that must be considered before implementing differential protection for transformers. So first thing, it may not be possible to obtain CT ratios on the primary and secondary side which will satisfy this criteria, which is required to equalize two side currents. So this is a first obstacle, because we will have to select CT ratio from the standard CT ratios, and it is not possible to equalize or to satisfy this condition. So due to this reason, there will be a difference in two side currents. Second, the error of transformation of the two side CTs may be different from each other. As the CT ratios are different from on two sides, same is the condition with the error. So one CT may have error greater than the other CT. Third, if power transformer is equipped with a tap changer, and that is always the case in case of substation mounted power transformer, so it means that that tap changer will change the position of tap according to the operating condition of power system during the loading condition. So tap changing means the change in the ratio of two sides of the power transformer, mean N1 and N2. These two are not fixed number. So that ratio would change as the tap changer will move from the topmost position to the lowermost tap. So this is a third obstacle for the application of differential, because even if we have achieved this condition during one setting of the tap, as tap would change, this condition get disturbed again. So due to these three conditions, differential relay will have a differential current even in normal condition. First condition, we will not be able to achieve this equation by using standard CT ratios. Second, CT error will be different on two sides because CT's ratios as well as CTs are different on two sides. Third, transformer has an under load tap changer or on load tap changer, which will change the ratio of the main transformer. So that will result our spill current. So if we are using simple overcurrent differential, then this current that is due to those three conditions that we have just discussed will flow towards the overcurrent relay and cause the tripping of the relay. In order to avoid that tripping of the relay during that condition, we will have to set the pickup setting of overcurrent differential to very high value. That will make overcurrent differential protection insensitive to many internal faults. So that is not acceptable. In order to avoid the misoperation, we are missing the detection of the fault. So setting our current relay above this difference current make our current differential relay insensitive to many faults. So solution of this problem is we will have to use a percentage differential relay for power transformer because our current differential cannot work due to the reason that we have just discussed. So percentage differential relay will provide an excellent solution to this problem. Here this graph shows how percentage differential relay will take care of all these currents. Here there are three portions of this current: ratio mismatch current, CT error current, underload tap changer. As the loading of transformer increases, this difference current is also increasing. But the slope setting of percentage differential relay will make this relay immune to these currents and relay will become secure against these currents. But when fault occurs within this zone of protection of percentage differential relay, that will cause immediate protection. So it means percentage differential relay is highly sensitive as well as highly secure. It would detect internal fault and would not operate for any external fault. So due to its high sensitivity, it could detect even minor faults inside the transformer. Now at the end of the lecture, with the help of an example, I will conclude this discussion of application of percentage differential relay for a power transformer. So in this example, we assume a single phase transformer which has voltage rating 69 kilovolt to 110 kilovolt. Both side voltages are in kilovolt. 20 MVA power rating. It is to be protected by a differential relay with input taps of 3, 4, 4.5, 4.8, 4.9, 5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.5 ampere secondary. Now it is important to understand what is meant by the tapping of the relay because differential relay does not have these tap settings. But remember the differential relay that is designed for the transformer, they have this type tap setting. So we are talking about electromechanical type differential relay. But nowadays the digital differential relays has made this detection of fault or application of differential relay for transformer much easier because this tab setting will be inside the setting. No need to have the physical tabs. Further, it is given that the transformer has an underload tap changer with a turn ratio which could be changed from minus 5% to plus 5%. So there are these steps 5 by 8. So it means there are 8 steps above the nominal and there are 8 steps below the nominal value. So the requirement is specify the CTs on two sides, the pickup settings and the percentage differential slope for the relay. So here these are the things to be evaluated. The available slope setting of this electromechanical type percentage differential relay for transformer application is 10, 20 and 40%. So we will have to make selection out of these possible slope settings. In numeric relay, slope settings is very flexible. Just by entering a digit number over there, we can select any slope setting. Now, in order to understand what is meant by these tappings, here I will draw the diagram in front of you to show you the meaning of the tappings. This is a transformer winding, 69 kilovolt side, and here we have 110 kilovolt side. So here is the differential relay. Remember, differential relay connection will be dotted end should be either towards or away from the transformer. Here it is away from the transformer on both sides. Now the percentage differential relay will look like this one: an operating coil and retaining coils. So this is a percentage differential relay. These two are retaining coils. Now this relay is equipped with auxiliary CTs on both sides, and those CTs have these tabs. So the secondary side of auxiliary CT will be connected like this. Okay. This is the secondary side of auxiliary CT, and the primary side of auxiliary CT has the tapping available, and here are the tap values. So tapping start from 3 to 5.5. So 3 ampere tap mean, so a few turns have been used like this. This is, let's say, the reference point. This is the reference end. This would be the 3 ampere tap. 3 ampere tap means if through this section of primary winding 3 ampere will pass, it will give us a secondary current over here of 5 ampere. This is meant by the 3 ampere. Then we have a 4 ampere tap. So current will further increase number of turns here. Then we have 4.5 ampere. Then we have 4.8. Then we have 4.9. Then this is a 5 ampere tap means now between these 2 points here and this 5 ampere tap, number of turns on two sides, primary and secondary, will become exactly equal. Okay. Now next again we'll have a 5.1 ampere, 5.2, and the final tap position has rating 5.5 ampere. So these are the tapping available. Same is the case on the other side. This is the reference end. So number of taps 3, 4, 4.5, 4.8, 4.9, 5, 5.1, 5.2 and 5.5. 3, 4, 4.5, 4.8, 4.9, 5, 5.1, 5.2 and 5.5 taps. Okay. Now this is meant by the tappings. So it means auxiliary CT is part of the differential relay used for the transformer. Now we will use the tap setting in such a way that according to our requirement, the current that we get on the secondary side according to the CT ratio that we are going to select, we will make proper selection of the taps. So meaning of these taps is same on this side as we have described over here. If current is here given according to this value, we get a 5 ampere on the other side corresponding to these taps. We will come back here to complete the connection once we have done the calculation. Now on the 69 kilovolt side, by using the power rating, the single phase transformer has 289.86 ampere current, and on the 110 kilovolt side this current is 181.82 ampere. Now based upon these two value of current, we will select the CT ratio. So closest CT ratio that should be applied on 69 kilovolt side, that will be 300 into 5, and the CT that will be used on 110 high side, that will be 200 into 5. So here is the CT ratio for LV side 300 into 5, CT ratio for HV side, that is 200 into 5. Let's go back and mention this thing over here. 300 into 5 and 200 into 5. Next thing is, let's see what will be the secondary current on the HT side and LT side. By using this CT ratio, this is the secondary current against on the 69 kilovolt side, that is 4.83 ampere. What we have done, 289.86 has been divided with the CT ratio. Here 181.82 has been divided with the CT ratio to get the current on the secondary side. Let's label these two currents over there, 4.83 and 4.55. So this is the current on the secondary side, and obviously we can see here these two currents are not equal. So in order to bring these two currents close to each other, here now we'll make use of these tap setting. So corresponding to this 4.83, the closest tap is 4.8 ampere tap. So this will be the connection. Here this current over here and the 4.8 tap, this would be connected to this point. Now to closest to 4.55, so this dotted end would be connected over here and this non-dotted end to 4.5. So this is the 4.5 tap, closest to that. Now by using these auxiliary CTs, the difference of between 4.83 and 4.55 can further be reduced. Now that difference has become much smaller as compared to the actual difference that is obvious from here, that is the use of auxiliary CTs. Now let's see what we are getting here on the secondary side of these auxiliary CTs. So corresponding to this current which is flowing into the dotted end, here current will leave from the dotted end as shown over here. Here current is leaving from the dotted end, so it will enter. So I will have to change the direction of current here like this. Now let's see how much current we get on the secondary side of these auxiliary CTs corresponding to the CT ratio and the primary current. So tap of 4.8 and 4.5 can be used on LV and HV side respectively, as we have seen. So the difference current, that would be, this is the current which is available on the secondary side of first auxiliary CT. This is the difference current on auxiliary side of second CT, and here is the total difference. Difference will be minus 0.02 ampere. This is the only difference between two side current. Now if I evaluate these two currents, here we get 5.03 ampere and this current is 5.056 ampere. Okay. So now these two currents are very close to each other. If we calculate this current in percentage, the percentage error in difference current is difference current divided by the base value of 5 ampere into 100, that is just 0.5%. Now CT error could be maximum up to 10%, so that error will be 10%, and underload tap changer will introduce a plus minus maximum possible error up to 5%. So when we add all these error currents, the total error will be 0.5 plus 10 plus 5, that is 15.5%. So now here the slope setting will be 15.5 plus a safety margin of 5, so that will become 20.5 and closest value is 20%. So slope that we can select for this percentage differential delay is 20%. So possible values are 10, 20 and 40. If our total error current was greater than 20%, then we definitely select the 40% tap, but it was less than 20, which is 15.5. Safety margin will give us the adequate safety about these error currents. This is how the error current will be calculated, and how the tappings of relay will be used. So that is end of the lecture. Thank you very much.